Targaryen!
He's touching Drogon!
What's up, guys? Welcome to Watching Sundays. Tonight, we just watched episode 4, Eastwatch. My name is Flip.
I'm Element. So a lot of things happened in this episode. A lot less action, obviously. But
Which is exactly what I said.
Yeah, you were right about that from the previous episode. But I still thought that it's not going to be a boring episode. We had a lot of moving parts going on in this episode that didn't actually warrant any action. I know we got a lot of revelations.
Yeah, it's all just setting it up for the next episode, because that's what usually happens. It's a pattern with Game of Thrones. Last episode was super exciting. This episode, you have to set it up a little bit for what's happening next.
Yeah, and so if you caught our reaction from the beginning of the episode, I just want to touch on that really quickly. John was petting Drogon, and we finally got that moment.
I say that was the best moment in this episode.
It was the best moment of the episode. John clearly, we saw Drogon's eyes.
Right.
Those weren't the eyes of a dragon. That was like, you're my enemy.
That dude was purring. He was seriously purring like a cat, massaging him or whatever. He's like petting him.
Yeah, usually he has those kind of eyes where you better not cross Daenerys, or I'll kill you. But he was like, hey bro, I recognize you. Come on, you all know that. But
that was total fan service. Everyone got what they wanted. That was a big prediction by just about anybody who watches the show, and we all got it.
So now we know John's probably going to ride one of the dragons in the future. That's still my prediction going forward.
I see that truer and truer now. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah. So we found out Jaime obviously survived. He didn't get captured, which is a huge bummer. But
I'm actually glad that he didn't get captured. I thought that he was going to get captured, but what made up for it was that the Tarleys got burnt.
Yeah, that was pretty ruthless.
Well, that was a show of power. She's queen, and they didn't bend the knee, so she had to make an example.
Yeah, and then Tyrion's showing some concerns about whether or not Dany can listen to him. But I think it's part of the growing pains of being a queen in Westeros. She's definitely doing a lot of things based on instinct and feeling now, especially because they lost Highgarden and all of the gold. But I think things will kind of shift, and I think Tyrion will have more of a grasp of how to wrangle her or rein her in a little bit.
Yeah, that's absolutely a good tease right now. Just kind of showcasing her ways of almost getting towards Mad Queen territory, but I don't think it's there.
I think that quality is in any ruler really, to kind of require you to bend the knee, but then if they don't, what do you do? Do you behead them? Do you burn them alive? But I think she's gonna veer out of that path soon.
It was just a show of authority. If you noticed, after they got burnt, everybody just bent the knee right away.
Yeah. So Jon and Tyrion found a way to hopefully make a case for the army of the dead. They proposed to show Cersei actual proof of a White Walker. And so they have to go into King's Landing, obviously.
Yeah, all they have to do is capture one, go to King's Landing, and show everybody that there's actually a Night Walker.
Yeah, hey, Cersei, here's a White Walker. I hope you believe me.
But remember last episode when I said she's a mad genius? She's just doing her moves, positioning her pieces across the chessboard. I think that was another move. I don't actually know if she's pregnant, but she managed to bring Jaime back into in her grasp, and kind of teasing a little bit that she's pregnant, and so he's back in it. But then you also get a sense of her trying to tell him, "Don't ever betray me again."
Cersei is definitely making a lot of moves. She's thinking ahead 100 steps in terms of what's going to happen, what can I do, how can I make this go my way if I meet Dany, and if I see this White Walker. I don't really think she believes the White Walker. I think she's just
already projecting the way her father would do this, how he would approach treating with Daenerys, and how it can be into their advantage.
Right.
it was a great quote between the both of them. That a lion does not concern themselves with sheep.
So I don't really think that Cersei believes in the White Walkers. I think right now she's thinking about how she can make this situation work in her favor. And so I think she's going to meet with Dany, but how she reacts to actually, if they succeed in getting White Walker, how she reacts to seeing a White Walker is going to kind of...
You think she's going to start... Do you think the Game of the Thrones is going to start to shift of all of them working together and having to defeat the White Walkers first before they proceed with the war?
I don't think that's going to shift to them working together. I think... See, now, this is where your opinion comes into play and my opinion of Cersei comes into play. She's going to be a mad genius. She's going... All right, so she's going to see the White Walkers and she's going to think, oh, so this is my opportunity. She's not going to work with them to fight the White Walkers. She's going to find a way to give them to the White Walkers. So there might be some veil in terms of how she goes about, constructing this alliance with them, but she's definitely going to find some opportunities to, let's say, oh, it's Jaime and Jon, they're fighting on one front. Jaime's going to back off and let Jon handle the vanguard. And there's going to be an opportunity to get Jon killed. So... she's
that is very interesting. So guys, you let us know what you guys think is going to happen, if she is going to be this mad genius that kind of strikes a really weird, a really cool plan on just trying to turn things around to their advantage, or there might actually be some kind of armistice and they'll work together against the White Walkers.
There's this weird dynamic right now going on with Cersei and Arya. You mentioned that Arya is kind of like a Queensguard, and they're kind of back to being sisters right now.
Yeah, that was a weird exchange between Sansa and Arya. I think...
So they're back to being sisters, but okay, so I want to mention the things are a lot different now. Arya knows a lot about what's out there in the real world, and Sansa does too. So while they're both being sisters again, like Arya is bringing in this dynamic that like, you could cut off their heads and just like gain their loyalty through fear.
As much as you may think that Sansa knows better by now, she kind of still gives off this naive kind of feeling. You still kind of feel like she's still naive.
That's true. Yeah. It might just be her her being a newbie at finally being the ruler instead of being on the sidelines or being a damsel.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Sansa. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Team Sansa right now. I think she's going to find a way to fuck it up, and then Jon will have to come and clean it up or something, because she's definitely not a tactician, but she's definitely been through a lot in this series, so we'll see how that goes. The game between Arya and Littlefinger.
So that's actually a huge point that I wanted to make after watching that exchange, or that whole little game of cat and mouse that Littlefinger and Arya was playing. Littlefinger, for someone who seemingly just kind of like a smart politician and smart like cutthroat or silver tongue.
He's very ninja.
I was debating whether or not Littlefinger knew Arya was following him, or if he was playing her game, leading her on to believe that she had the upper hand. And so I kind of posed that maybe Littlefinger is a faceless. He has the training.
That is interesting.
Of a faceless. I mean, so let's go back to the previous episode when Littlefinger and Arya met eyes. We both thought that meant that, oh shit, she's gonna kill us. But after seeing this episode, it's more along the lines of,
I recognize
those skills.
I know what those moves are all about. I've trained in that way as well. I know that dagger. I know that knife skill.
Yeah, and he had the dagger too.
And then in this episode, he's like lurking in the shadows. So that is a very interesting theory. That's very interesting. What do you guys think?
Yeah, what do you guys think? Leave it in the comments below. Is Littlefinger a faceless, or is he just really good at being sneaky?
And like when Arya broke into his room and found the scroll or the message, is that maybe a true message, or he planted it?
Yeah,
wrote it himself. That letter was probably to King Robb, right?
No, it was a letter that Sansa wrote, I think, to Winterfell.
But
when she was Joffrey's queen.
But that had to be for Robb.
Oh, Rob Stark, yeah.
Yeah, Rob Stark.
So, yeah, let us know what the scroll said. If you guys can go back to the... That's a lot of work to go back all the way to season 1 and try to figure out what she wrote in that letter.
So an interesting thing happened while he was scribing. She actually mentioned Rhaegar and an annulment with a wedding with a marriage that he had. And that is another one of those fan service type of things, of theories that everyone has been talking about.
Big Easter egg. Basically, she's like researching annulments, and then she reads a passage that happens to mention Rhaegar annulling his marriage and having a secret ceremony with someone else. We think it's Lyanna.
Yeah, and then you get the scene. You also get the scene with Jon, caressing Drogon identifying him as a Targaryen, and so everything is just coming around.
So while Tyrion was speaking with Jaime about that stuff, Davos picked up Gendry. And Gendry met Jon, and they kind of had this whole like Ned Stark, Robert Baratheon type of dynamic.
That was really interesting. It was like the Starks and the Baratheon coming back together.
Yeah.
And they meet up with the Brotherhood, the Hound and Dondarrion. And I thought it was a little funny with Dondarrion trying to be all holy and, trying to come up with a speech.
And the Hound was just like, shut the fuck up already.
Yeah, let's just go.
Are we going or not?
We're going in the same direction.
And so we have this kind of fellowship of the Night Walker, where we have...
That's interesting, yeah.
Jon, Davos...
It kind of feels like...
Davos is staying behind, but Jon, Jorah, Ser Jorah, that one dude...
Who's the one dude? Tormund,
Beric Dondarrion, Thoros, and the Hound. I think they're going to go through a lot of crazy things on their way to just capture one White Walker.
I feel like the next episode we're going to get to that part, and it's going to be really interesting, because I predict that the Hound falls, and then Darren gives him the kiss of life, and then passes his powers along to the Hound.
That could happen. I don't think the Hound is destined to have those kinds of powers. I think his arc happened, and he's just there to be kind of like a warrior of light.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think...
Okay, we'll see what happens. Because I know that's been a theory that's been discussed every now and then. But I'm just excited to see my big prediction for this next episode, when their backs are up against the wall, Ghost is going to come and save their ass.
Do you really think that Ghost can... Ghost is going to save all of them?
Come on, man. We've seen so many dragons so far. They've got to have the budget to get the direwolves back into action here.
Yeah, but first of all, like, we've never seen a White Walker alone. And they're trying to get one, right? I don't think they're going to run into one White Walker.
Well, how do you think they're going to capture a White Walker? In the mouth of a direwolf.
All right.
Oh, shit.
I think it's going to come down to them needing a dragon. My prediction for either the next episode or the rest of this season is that they're going to fail horribly to get a White Walker. And the only possible way for them to do it is if Jon is riding on the back of Rhaegal. And Jon's going to ride Rhaegal to the north, and he's going to fucking snatch a White Walker into his mouth and bring it down south, land on the freaking King's Landing, and be like, bitch, this is your proof.
That is a crazy prediction.
And you're thinking about a wolf biting onto one. I'm thinking of a dragon biting onto one.
All right, well, you want a dragon to catch one. I think a direwolf should catch one. You guys let us know what you think.
Well, that should do it for this episode of Watching Sundays. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and click the bell notification if you want to know when we post new videos. And that's it for us.
My name is Flip.
I'm Element.
This is Watching Sundays.